Doing business internationally can be risky business. Along with the credit risks, there can be non-credit risks of which exporters should be aware. We've put together a series of small videos with tips to help you navigate the international markets.
Well, you know, as most things in the sustainability space or environmental, social space, most of it started through regulation. It sort of moved from a regulatory piece, from a compliance piece to a conformance piece for a number of entities because there was stakeholder pressure. Stakeholders like investors that were asking for efficiencies or that were concerned about compliance needs. Or you had other international bodies that wanted to ensure that supply chains were including certain conditions for their populations. And it really started more from development companies. If you think about a mining company that enters into a region where there is no other opportunity for employment, and so suddenly you have these requirements such as local employment, requirements such as local purchasing. And so we went from that notion of, you know, the law requiring or regulation being in place to the development of those stakeholder needs and meeting their needs. And as more and more multinationals recognize this, they started to build out and enhance their existing procurement policies and procedures, like supplier codes of conduct and so on, requiring or requesting in many cases that those within their supply chain met certain conditions, environmental, social, economic, and other. Typically, a lot of them talk about it from an ethical perspective, and I'd say that that's probably where it really started, but it's really evolved. The fact of the matter is small and medium-sized enterprises tend to be far more nimble than the larger organizations, which is good news for them. One of the reasons for some it's a little bit of a surprise is because they haven't necessarily sold into those markets before or sold into companies like that, and those are their targets, you know, the golden sale that they're looking for. So what tends to happen is they become informed because there's a request, either a request for qualifications that comes out to which they want to submit, and they start to see this criteria for the first time. What's your health and safety policy? What's your environmental policy? What's your continuous improvement policy and program? So some of them are informed because they are selling in. Others, it's a surprise to them. Some aren't, and the reason that some aren't surprised is because a lot of people that are working today, it's sort of in that next generational fold. And they have been learning about this for the last 20 years. And they know it's part of their value system. Not that it's not part of the value system of those who came before and sort of, you know, chiseled the path. But it's now become a part of the decision-making process of a number of entities that wasn't before. Some of them might be you need to meet certain emissions criteria, greenhouse gas emissions criteria. So if you're a producer of any particular product, of a widget, and that widget has a carbon footprint, that means the amount of embedded greenhouse gases within that product, you may have to actually disclose how much carbon is embedded within that product. That is, how many emissions do you or how many greenhouse gases do you emit as a result of producing your product? And the reason is because those, the original equipment manufacturers or those who might retail your product, they also have reporting requirements around their carbon profile and greenhouse gas footprint. So to have clarity into what that is and to know what yours is, you can pass that along. It provides information that they tend to need in order to fulfill their own reporting requirements.